Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a deep dive into something really incredible.
Hmm.
It's the power of education to change lives.
Absolutely.
We're going to be following this guy, Min.
Okay.
He's a community leader in a village in Yangon,
Mm-hmm.
Myanmar,
Wow.
and he's trying to bring education to this village.
That's amazing.
What I find so interesting about this is that it's not just about the basic stuff,
Right.
like books and pencils.
Yeah.
It's something much bigger.
It is. Min actually calls his vision a community learning hub.
Oh, I like that.
It goes way beyond just providing materials or,
Yeah.
basic resources.
What would make this a hub then?
Well, he wants to create a space where learning is part of everything in the community.
I see.
It's a place where children can get books and supplies, of course,
Okay.
but they also have access to good teachers, and there are even workshops for parents.
Oh, wow.
So it really brings everyone together.
So it's not just about dropping off a bunch of textbooks
No.
and calling it a day.
It's about creating a whole environment that supports learning.
That's really cool. Now, at some point, a really interesting person shows up.
Yes.
This guy named Mr. Grant Money.
Yes, Mr. Grant Money. He comes to the village and ends up becoming a mentor to Min.
A mentor.
Yeah. And this is something I think a lot of people listening can relate to.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you meet someone who really changes everything.
Got it.
They give you the guidance and support you need to make a difference.
That's got to be pretty inspiring for men.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's say you're men in
Yeah.
this situation. You're passionate about education.
Right.
You have this amazing idea, but you're not really sure how to get started.
It can be overwhelming for sure.
What are the concrete steps you can take?
Well, one of the most important things Mr. Grant Money tells men is to go after grant funding.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But he says funders are really looking for specific things when they decide who to support.
I can imagine.
It's not enough to just have a good idea.
Right.
You have to show them how you're going to make a real impact.
Oh, so they're looking for more than just passion.
Definitely. A funder is making an investment.
Okay.
They want to see a return on that investment in a positive way.
Got it.
So Min has to be very clear about his goals and how he'll measure his success.
That's interesting. So it has to be measurable.
Yes. It can't just be a hope that things will get better.
What else does he need to think about?
Well, Mr. Grant Money also tells him to have a really solid plan for using the money.
That's smart.
It's like if you were going to loan someone money to start a business,
Right.
you'd want to know exactly how they were going to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what funders want to see, a detailed plan.
So a clear plan, measurable goals, anything else?
Yes. Mr. Grant Money tells him to research international NGOs and educational foundations,
Okay.
the kinds of organizations that really support projects like his.
So he needs to find the right people to ask.
Exactly. He can't just wait for someone to show up with a check.
Right.
He needs to be proactive and find potential funders.
I like that. What about working with other people in the village? I imagine that's important too.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Mr. Grant Money really emphasizes collaboration.
Okay.
He tells Minin to reach out to other leaders and organizations in the village.
So build a team, basically.
Yes, a network of support.
Why is that so important?
Well, when you work together, you share resources, and that can be really helpful.
Makes sense.
Especially when you're working with limited funds.
Uh-huh.
You can also reach more people in the community, and you have a stronger voice when you're working together.
So it's about more than just sharing the work.
Exactly.
It's about building something bigger.
It is. Now, something I've always found fascinating is the power of storytelling.
Oh, me too.
And I know this is something that plays a big role in Min's journey.
Okay, tell me more.
Mr. Grant Money tells Min to share compelling stories about the kids in his village.
The kids whose lives would be changed by the project.
Exactly. Because those stories really connect with people.
What do you think that is?
Well, stories make things personal.
Mhm.
They help people see the human impact, not just numbers and statistics.
So how could Min use storytelling in this situation?
He could get parents to talk about the struggles their kids face without a good education.
Right.
He could highlight the dreams of the children themselves.
Yeah.
And he could use those stories in his grant applications and when he talks to people in the village.
He's painting a picture of what's possible,
Exactly.
not just focusing on the problems.
Right. Now remember, Min started out feeling lost and overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But thanks to Mr. Grant Money's guidance, he begins to see a way forward.
That's got to be a good feeling.
It is. He realizes he's not alone and that there are people and resources out there to help him succeed.
So it's like he's being given a map.
In a way.
And even though he knows there will be obstacles along the way, he at least has the direction to go in.
Absolutely. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. We'll see what steps Min actually takes to make this all happen.
It's going to be an exciting journey.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So last time we left off with Min feeling like he had a plan, you know?
Yeah, he was ready to get things moving.
Exactly. But as you can imagine, putting a plan into action is, well, it's not always easy.
I bet. What were some of the first challenges he faced?
Well, remember how Mr. Grant Money really emphasized collaboration?
Yeah,
So Min's first step was to talk to other village leaders.
makes sense.
You know, he wanted to get them excited about the learning hub,
Uh-huh.
but he quickly realized that not everyone was as enthusiastic as he was.
Really? Why not?
Some of the leaders were skeptical. They weren't sure if it was even possible.
That's understandable.
They worried about resources and logistics and,
Yeah.
whether it would really make a difference.
So basically, a lot of uncertainty,
Right. Change can be scary for people.
especially when it involves something as big as this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Min didn't let that discourage him.
How did he respond to their concerns?
He used his passion to try and convince them.
Okay.
He explained his vision and talked about how education could help the whole community.
Did he have any concrete examples to share?
That's where his research came in handy. Remember, he'd been looking into potential funding sources.
Oh, yeah.
He was able to show the leaders that this wasn't just a pipe dream.
Smart?
He pointed to specific NGOs and foundations that had supported similar projects.
So he had some evidence to back up his claims.
Right. He wasn't just asking them to take a leap of faith.
I see. What about the village leaders who were already busy with other projects?
That was a challenge too. But Min was really clever about it.
Oh,
He found ways to connect the learning hub with things they were already working on.
can you give me an example?
Sure. He suggested partnering with the village health clinic to do workshops on, child nutrition.
Ah, so he was making it relevant to them.
Exactly. And slowly but surely, he started to win people over.
That's great.
They started to see the potential of his idea.
So collaboration was key.
It was. And then, of course, there were the grant applications.
Right. That was a big part of his plan.
It was. And it was a lot of work, let me tell you.
I bet. Where did he even begin?
He started with the organizations Mr. Grant Money had mentioned.
Okay,
The ones that focus on education in developing countries.
makes sense.
He spent hours and hours researching them,
Wow.
making sure he understood their priorities and guidelines.
But it's not just about finding the right organizations, right?
No, you're right. He also had to learn how to write a good grant proposal.
That's a skill in itself.
It is. He had to present his ideas in a clear and persuasive way.
Yeah, and make them care about his project.
Exactly. It was tough, but he was determined.
Did he run into any challenges?
Oh, yeah. The first few proposals he sent out were rejected.
Oh, no.
It can be really discouraging.
I can imagine.
But he didn't give up. He used the feedback he got to improve his proposals.
So he was learning as he went.
Exactly. He also reached out to Mr. Grant Money and other grant writers for advice.
That's a good idea, to get help from people who have experiences.
It is. But all of this took time.
Right. And I'm sure he had other responsibilities in the village.
Oh, yeah. He was burning the candle at both ends.
But he kept going.
He did. Because he believed in what he was doing.
That's inspiring. So did all this hard work pay off?
It did. And that's what we'll talk about in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear what happened. So we left off with Min, working really hard on those grant applications.
Yeah, and facing a lot of challenges along the way.
But he never gave up.
He didn't. And it's amazing how things start to change once he has that combination of passion and a clear plan.
And the community's starting to support him too.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell me about those grant applications.
Well, remember, he sent out a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And at first, he got a lot of rejections.
Right.
But then he starts getting some good news.
What kind of good news?
A small local foundation gives him what they call a seed grant.
Okay.
It's not a huge amount of money.
But it's something.
It is. It's enough to show other people that he's serious.
Oh, I see. So it's like a vote of confidence.
Exactly. And it gives him the momentum he needs to keep going.
What does he do with that seed money?
Well, first, he's able to find a space for the learning hub.
Oh, wow. So it's actually happening.
It is. It's an old community building that wasn't being used.
Perfect.
It needs some work, but it's a start.
So he's making progress and people are starting to see it.
Right. And then something else happens.
What's that?
A local business owner who had been kind of skeptical about the project before.
Okay.
She's so impressed by Min's dedication that she decides to donate all the school supplies they need.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. It's like things are really starting to come together.
So he's got a space supplies and some initial funding.
Right. And remember, he also applied to that big international NGO.
The one that focuses on education.
Yes. And all that work he did on crafting a really strong proposal,
Yeah.
it pays off.
You like it.
They love it, especially the way he tells the stories of the children in the village.
So it's those personal connections that make the difference.
Exactly. And they decide to give him a big grant.
Wow, how big.
Big enough to renovate the building, train teachers, and start the parent workshops.
So he can finally make his vision a reality.
He can.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to see the impact it has on the children.
Tell me about that. What's it like for them?
Well, imagine kids who had very little access to education before.
Yeah.
Now they have this bright, welcoming space to learn and grow.
I bet they're thrilled.
They are. And Min uses the grant money to hire really good teachers.
That's so important.
It is. He also works closely with the parents.
Making sure everyone is involved.
Right. And he wants to make sure that this isn't just a short-term project.
Yeah, how does he do that?
He focuses on making it sustainable.
Okay.
He trains people in the village to run the learning hub.
So they can eventually take over?
Exactly. He also sets up a system for fundraising so
Yeah.
they can keep getting the resources they need.
So he's creating something that will last.
He is.
Yeah.
And this story's about so much more than just one village in Myanmar.
Right.
It shows us that anyone can make a difference.
If they have the passion and the commitment.
Exactly. Min's story is an inspiration to us all.
It really is. And I think it's a great reminder that even small actions can have a big impact.
Absolutely. So what are you going to do to make a difference in your community?
That's a great question for all of us to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as inspiring as we did.